Hey guys, EDDBUD here, and I'm back with another initial shoe review for you. This time, it's the brand new colourway of the Inov-8 Terraultra G 270. Hey cats, not too often that I get sent a shoe for review. I'm very pleased to have been sent this one from Inov-8. I was really keen to get my hands on a pair of these, but Inov-8 reached out to me and have sent me a pair, a brand new colourway, the blue and yellow of the Terraultra G 270. So Inov-8 have sent me this shoe, but they're not paying me to do this review. These are my own honest opinions as usual. A few stats first on this smart trail offering from Inov-8. So we have a 12mm midsole on today's menu. There's a zero drop here, so don't need to talk about that heel to toe business. And we have a thick, succulent 6mm insole within the G 270. Inov-8 calls that their power footbed. I've got to say, it's certainly more comfortable than the bed I slept in last night. It's just too hot. Weight in the UK size 11 or US size 12 is 307 grams. So very reasonable, certainly for a trail shoe anyway. Let's get to the upper first. I've got to say something guys, this shoe smells really good. I don't know if it's something to do with the outsole rubber, it just smells awesome. I'm talking car mechanic, garage, Halfords, brand new car awesome. That's how good it is. Oh, it's magic. So we've got a very breathable toe box here, I was quite surprised. The great thing about this shoe is I've been able to utilise it with all sorts of different socks. Sometimes with trail shoes I've had to use specific socks to get a reasonable fit, not in the G 270. That synthetic upper kind of wraps around your foot. Really good lockdown in this shoe. Put them on, tie them up, get out there, no messing about. You know I can't stand it when I have to keep messing around with shoelaces to achieve a decent fit, like the Pegasus 37 for example. We've got a shorter and thinner tongue here. I could do with perhaps a tiny little bit more tongue, if anything. When I used a runner's knot here, I felt like the laces were just at the very edge here of the tongue, and it didn't cause me any discomfort, but I could just do with another couple of millimeters maybe. That side, it's lovely and thin, that tongue. It doesn't feel like there's loads of padding on top of your foot. There's just enough here to protect the top of the foot from the laces. Upper here feels really strong, it feels nice and stable on foot. Feels like your foot is locked in there to the shoe. I'm appreciating the slightly wider toe box here in the G 270 in comparison to stuff I've tried recently from Nike and Hoka, their trail lines. Lots more width here. Felt like my toes just had a bit of room to move around a little bit, which is nice. I think the lockdown's helped a little bit by the lack of nasty elastic laces used in the Terraultra G 270. They're a little bit more coarse, they didn't give quite as much, but they work perfectly with this upper. Just feels like there's an appropriate amount of upper here. Lots of shoes I've tried recently have just got way too much upper, namely some Asics offerings. This one feels chef kiss perfect. A really good fit experience for me in this shoe. Across my initial runs I felt no slip and no movement within the shoe. One of the first trail shoes that I've tried out recently where I felt I can use a thin sock without any worries. A shoe that I felt I could run quickly and strongly at pace, and it was supportive enough in the upper. So the tongue isn't connected to the rest of the shoe with a booty style like a lot of trail shoes have of recent time. It does have a little bit of extra material which attaches it just underneath where the eyelet chain is on either side of the shoe. That extra material is not noticeable whatsoever when you do cinch the laces up.
Impressive. Most impressive.
I would say with this shoe, in the UK size 11, it's spot on for me. I wouldn't want it to be any shorter though. Within Nike shoes, I tend to find a UK size 11, I'm right at the very end of the threshold of that size. And I think that's kind of the same situation here in the Terraultra G 270. So you may want to explore sizing a little bit in this, maybe a half size up possibly, but it's pretty much spot on for me in a UK size 11. So rather than just wanting a tiny bit more length in the tongue here when using a runner's knot, I had a really great experience in terms of the upper over my initial runs. I'm going to give it a 2.8 out of 3. It's time to talk midsoles now. So midsole wise here, we need to talk about the foam and also that footbed that Inov-8 have included within the G 270. I found the Powerflow Max midsole material here gives a very untrail-like underfoot feel. A really nice level of cushion, just firm enough that you feel connected to the ground. A real huge departure from the Torrent 2 that I tried recently from Hoka. This feels way more comfortable. I was quite taken back on my initial foray in the shoe. They really are something else in the midsole department, and I was really surprised. It makes it hard for me to just categorise this shoe or pigeonhole it as a trail shoe. It really does feel fantastic underfoot. On my initial journey to my local trail, the G270 felt fine on pavement and road. Better in fact than some road running shoes I've tried recently. And you guys know I've tried out many shoes recently. I'd suggest the midsole foam's a little bit more forgiving than that in the Hyperion Tempo from Brooks. Certainly more enjoyable ride than the Pegasus 37. This thing just feels nimble on foot compared to the clog-like feel of the Nike. So on the more forgiving surfaces on the trail, like compacted dirt and grass and rocky areas, feels like this great energy return from the midsole and the insole combination. I just really enjoyed myself out there. Some baking hot temperatures recently, but still able to push the pace to some of my more tempo-like paces on trail. I ran some of my fastest times actually in the G270 on specific segments of my local trail. They felt especially good on gravel. They're really quite enjoyable to wear on gravel. The outsole just chews up those small rocks and stones, and you feel like it's some real nice push off. Just doesn't really feel like you're running on gravel. There's some quite impressive energy return there, and considering that this is one of the very first zero drop shoes that I've tried, I can report no injuries or strains. In fact, my legs felt absolutely fantastic after my initial runs in this shoe. Can't really fault it for its versatility over different surfaces. The underfoot feel really is very good. Here is the strange insole supplied. I'm not sure if you can see that. Almost like a boost type setup there. We've got loads of pellets squashed in. My only real worry here with the midsole and insole combination is what happens when this starts to compress. I think the nature of the shoe might change a little bit. Hopefully you're able to get some more insoles from Inov-8 to replace the worn out ones perhaps. That might be something. I don't know if you guys can let me know if that's a thing. But it really does make a massive difference to the underfoot feel. So after my initial runs, 14 miles in, I can safely say I give this a 2.8 out of 3 for midsole. Outsole now. So here we have an outsole which features graphene in its rubber protrusions. So unlike other less flexible outsoles in trail shoes that I've tried recently, the G270 really does have some nice flex here in the midfoot. It's actually quite prevalent actually. The rubber's quite malleable. I mean, it's strong, but there's some flex and movement to it. It really did feel quite nice running on road and pavement in this shoe. As you know, if you've commuted to trails in the past in your trail-based shoes, sometimes it can feel a little bit uncomfortable. I think it's certainly going to be durable enough, stand the test of time. There's absolutely zero sign of wear. The rubber lugs here are about 4mm in depth. I found them ample for the light trails that I utilised them on my initial runs. There's certainly a nice bit of bite here, almost as vicious as the beast. Traction on some rocks was really great. I didn't feel any of those sharper or pointy rocks sticking through. There is no rock plate here as far as I'm aware, and I felt like I had a really nice stable time in the shoe. I think for me the shoe felt best on compacted dirt and gravel tracks. Those graphene grip cleats dig into the surface, and turning on some tight angles and corners felt absolutely fine even with my giraffe-like height. I think for its use, Inov-8 have got it spot on in terms of the depth of those rubber lugs. I think if you run on a variety of different surfaces, the Terraultra G270 could work out really well for you. A real good all-round performer, the Botham you could say of outsoles. As such, I found no negatives to this shoe so far. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 3 for outsole. We've got to talk value now. So value wise, this shoe costs at retail 145 earth credits or pounds. So it's a little more expensive than those other efforts from Nike and Hoka, on par with some of the Salomon stuff, but I found this infinitely more cushioned and enjoyable to use than the Terrakiga 5 or the Torrent 2. That Powerflow Max cushioned midsole is really great, and coupled with that extra insole as well, it's a fantastic underfoot feel. I found it vastly more enjoyable to run in than the EVA used in the Hoka stuff or the React in the Terrakiga 5. So I feel that the shoe's undoubtedly worth the extra cash on top of those. The graphene infused rubber looks like it's going to last the test of time, and I see very few areas on the upper where it looks like it could fail over a number of miles. Everything about it's just constructed really well. Feels like you've got a nice quality item here. There are very few stitch parts here anywhere on the upper. And of course, after Damien Hall's recent Pennine Way effort over those huge number of miles, I think that's proof enough that this shoe will last the test of time. It's going to take a pounding and keep on going. Still, £145 is still a fair amount for a shoe. I think if you're doing a lot of trail running or across multi-surfaces, it presents good value. Perhaps if you're only hitting the trails very occasionally, 145 could be a little bit too much for you. But still, I feel this shoe is a really good all-rounder. If you can check it out, I urge you to. For value, for me, it's a 2.7 out of 3 after my initial runs. So if I total up all of the scores across each category, that gives us 11.3 out of 12 for the Inov-8 Terraultra G 270. Very impressed so far with this shoe, full of new innovations. If you've got any questions on the Terraultra G 270 from Inov-8, please let me know in the comments. Time for a musical interlude. As you know, I've been digging back into my record collection over the past few months during the lockdown. I'd completely forgotten about this one from The Verve. Their fantastic album, A Northern Soul, features loads of great tracks. Everybody knows Urban Hymns, but this was the album before that. This is music as a psychedelic rock and roll extravaganza. On Your Own and History are a blueprint for some of those fantastic tunes that appeared on Urban Hymns. It really does feel like an album where they were honing their craft, ready to produce that classic album, Urban Hymns. So if you can check this one out, or find it somewhere, it's The Verve and Northern Soul. Okay, thanks for watching through to the very end of the video, guys. I very much appreciate it. Please hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications of when I launch those new videos. It really helps the channel out a massive amount if you give this video a thumbs up like if you enjoyed it, and also share it with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you. Hey guys, so 7 miles in the Terraultra G 270s. It was supposed to be some biblical storm last night, thunder and rain and stuff like that. We haven't had any. It's just dry as a bone out here. So there's really been no rain. Not too sure how they got that wrong. Maybe some descendants of Michael Fish or something who tried to predict the weather got it a bit wrong. But certainly impressed with the shoes, performance across all terrain really. Shame we couldn't try them out on some more muddy surfaces, but in the dry, absolutely fantastic.